Thanks for listening and subscribing to the Clive Barker podcast, the only podcast dedicated to the imagination of Clive Barker. This is a news episode with Jose, myself, and Marcus going over the latest news from the Reef, including signed Abarat posters for sale, some awards for Dark Ditties, more info on the hybrid exhibition, and there's a Midian configuration. Hold on to your hats. All right, welcome. This is episode 199. We're just one step away from episode 200.
Wow, isn't that crazy? It's been 6 years that we've been doing this.
Yeah. And I'm Ryan.
It's insane.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Marcus.
Good to have you back again, Marcus.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure.
This is approaching Halloween, right? So we've all been doing some cool stuff, getting prepared for getting our Halloween mojo going. Festival of Samhain. I saw the latest Halloween installment on the theater at the Alamo Draft House in Phoenix, and that was pretty fun. Did you guys see that movie yet?
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was a good, decent sequel to the first one. Carpenter said this is going to be the final Halloween movie, so we'll see about that. I mean,
no, it's not. The producers already said they're planning on making another one.
Wow. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So.
He can say that, but he probably doesn't have much say in it, right?
Yeah,
right.
I think I read somewhere that in the contract it says that they can't on screen kill Michael Myers.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why in Halloween H2O, Jamie Lee Curtis said, "I'll do it, but I want to kill Michael Myers," and she chops his head off at the end of that film. And then in Resurrection, they do that whole thing of he swapped with the paramedic, and so it was the paramedic who was decapitated, because I guess contractually you can't actually kill Michael Myers on screen.
That's weird because they do it all the time.
That's what I was going to say. You have to define what does it mean to kill Michael Myers. If someone shoots him a few times, that should be.
He got shot in the face in the first movie.
Yeah, shot in both eyes, right?
Yeah. I guess death in those films is a very fluid thing.
Yeah. I'm sorry. He got shot in both eyes on the second film.
Yeah. But he did get shot in the face though in the first one, right?
He got shot several times. Yeah.
And he fell off of he fell out of the second story, and then he had disappeared, right? And that was the end of it.
But yeah, continuity in those films doesn't really exist, because at the end of the second one, doesn't Dr. Loomis get blown up, and then he returns in the fourth just like a scar on his face. So
right, and you see him burning, you see his head burning, and it's like, oh my god,
it's still better than Hellraiser continuity, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. And today's Halloween Saturday, I guess. So today I'm going to go out with Sarah, and we're going to get dressed up, and I'm going to be a vampire. So and you guys were doing some fun stuff too, right? You went to a haunt yesterday, Marcus?
Yeah, I went to Not Scary Farms, where it's a theme park that they turn it into a Halloween themed thing with scare zones and haunted mazes. And tonight I'm doing Warner Brothers Horror Made Here, where they're going to have a Conjuring maze and an It maze, and Freddy vs. Jason, where they drop you up at Camp Crystal Lake. And all these other things. And then tomorrow we're doing Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights, which is an insane thing all into itself. And then Monday, which is my birthday, we're going to be going to Disneyland and just kind of having more of a calm, child-friendly day. And then, that'll be the end of my vacation. So
I think you just made a lot of people jealous.
Yeah,
it's like the one time a year where I treat myself to an epic vacation. So
yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Since it's Halloween. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I went to Joel's Halloween school carnival last night. That's kind of what I've done so far.
What did Joey dress up as?
He had a glow-in-the-dark skeleton costume.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's fun. Halloween, that time of the year again, where a lot of Clive Barker fans would just call it, life.
Yeah.
So anyway, for the collectors out there who like horror stuff, Tom Holland's Terrortime just added a large Clive Barker collection from a fan.
Yeah.
So there's a big selection of stuff that you can get, like autographed movies, books, comics. You can find the Hellraiser Anthology Volume 1, and maybe the Volume 2. I'm not sure. Is it the Volume 2 available, Ryan?
And it was I know it was a trade paperback, I think, of number 1.
Yeah, so the one that got published by Seraphin a few years ago, and you can find the jewelry like the Clive Barker bronze skull medallion that has a little skull that he painted once, and you can find stuff like Gods and Monsters, a screenplay signed by Clive Barker, Japanese laser discs, Hellraiser trilogy Blu-rays, the Scarlet Box signed by Clive Barker, Lord of Illusions DVD signed by Clive Barker, and all sorts of stuff. Just go over to Tom Holland's Terrortime, and you can even find the Candyman 2 laser disc there.
I think it's gone. I think I'm clicking on it now, and I think that whole collection is out of there.
Yeah, I'm looking right now, and the whole Clive Barker section is gone, which is, I'm guessing everything sold out, because I know by the time I checked that the bronze skull medallion was gone, or both of the medallions were gone. But I was able to buy the V for Vice Versa wall relief, the pinhead one that Clive.
That's cool.
Which is awesome, because that thing was like originally like $350 or something.
Right.
Wow.
And they sold it for $60-something. So, but yeah, I think that whole collection is now sold.
Well, we did a blog post and posted it around social media and stuff. So hopefully that helped, and they got some. So it sounds like they got some stuff sold.
Yeah,
right.
I think it did help. Yeah, there's original art and everything that's gone. That's cool.
So shame on me for not checking on that, but hey, we did post that on the 14th, and now it's the 26th as we record this.
Yeah.
Or the 27th.
And they were each unique. It's not like they had a big pile of each one of those things. So.
Yeah.
Right. So that's fun though. I mean, I hope they went to good homes, and some of them were really, like you said, one of a kind stuff. So anyway, keep checking Tom Holland's Terrortime store, and check out Horror Marketplace, and I'm sure you'll be able to find lots of cool stuff in the future.
And the Hellraiser and Hellbound soundtrack vinyl. I thought it was only Hellbound, but in Rob's story here, he's talking about the Hellraiser Anniversary Edition is coming on cassette.
And from Lakeshore, right?
Yeah, from Lakeshore.
Oh God, that's so cool! Like the cassette tape, I saw a picture of it, and it's got the little Hellraiser panel on the cassette front, and it's just so cool. Yeah, I don't even have a way of playing cassette tapes anymore, but I would totally buy that.
I don't think I do either.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I used to have that in my truck, and then I swapped the stereo out, so now
for a CD player, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys own any of the vinyls?
No.
That they've released?
No.
I own the original vinyls when they came out, like back in the late '80s.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I haven't gotten any of these new editions, to be honest. But this one looks really good because it's a remastered special 30th anniversary edition, and it's got that red vinyl thing coming out of it, and it's just so beautiful. It really is beautiful.
And it contrasts really nicely with the blue on the cover.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's from Lakeshore. And there was also a Mondo edition of the Hellraiser soundtrack back when it was the 30th anniversary, I think. And now Lakeshore also did the first movie soundtrack, and now I think they're bringing out the Hellbound, right?
Yeah, which is nice. We'd talked about that before with Hellbound, that it's the first time you don't get it packaged in with High Point.
Yeah. Even though it's a nice soundtrack as well.
Yeah.
So the cassette tape, we'll add a link to that in the show notes. It's got the beautiful Simon Saysy panel box on the front of the tape. It's got a little slipcase that goes on top of the plastic tape box that has the actual like pinhead holding the box and the poster for Hellraiser. So it's such a neat little product. And I mean, if you're a collector, this is something that you must have. So for sure. It's only $15.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I love all this Hellraiser stuff coming back because of the anniversaries of these two movies.
Mm-hmm.
And Hellraiser is 31, Hellbound is 30 now.
Right. And that's one of the first things that got a lot of people into Abarat. And now there's one of the last things that Clive is doing, which is the Abarat books. So now there's a bunch of signed Abarat posters available for purchase from the Clive Barker archive, right?
Yeah, and I actually have one of those posters. I got it on my first visit to Clive's office. Mark gave one to me.
Oh, that's really cool.
It's and then Clive signed it to Ryan and Joey because he'd remembered because I think I had him sign that picture of Joey at Texas Frightmare Weekend.
Yeah.
That he drew, and then he said to Ryan and Joey, I said, well, if you include us, you got to include Jennifer. And then he wrote, and of course Jennifer too. And then like love and Smisses from Clive Barker.
Smisses.
Yeah.
So this is their posters that go back to 2002, right?
Yeah. It was for an exhibition in LA of the Art of Abarat.
Yeah.
That would have been something to see.
Oh yeah. And I own one of these as well, and it's really big and it's really beautiful. And you know, when you buy the Clive Barker prints or the art prints, they're really small. I mean, the quality is really good, but they're very small and very, very pricey. And so I mean, for $48, you're getting a 40-inch poster of just, you know, of a full painting, and it's one of the first paintings that Clive did for Abarat. You know, this was the catalyst for the whole thing. And also I checked on eBay and elsewhere to see how much these posters were going for now signed, and they're going for $100+. So this is a really good deal.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it features that wizard from Abarat, right? What was his name?
Casper Wolfswinkel.
Yeah.
That's him with the hats.
Yes. Yeah. And the Terry cats on the side. And yeah, I remember Clive saying he was doing a painting for an erotic exhibition, and out of nowhere, you know, this guy in a yellow suit and these hats and these cats came out of nowhere, and he was like, "What the heck is this?" And and that, you know, that was a progenitor of Abarat.
Wow.
So yeah. So I think for Clive fans, you know, this is a piece of history, and it's a limited quantity, so get it while it lasts.
Yeah, and those are over at the Clive Barker archive, which is Phil and Sarah's site. You know, it coincides with their clivebarker.info. But yeah. So that's the only Clive Barker direct store right now.
Yeah, you can go to clivebarkerarchive.com/store, and you will find links to all these things that you can buy there.
Yeah.
And while you're there, pre-order Imaginer 6 while you can, because that pre-order is about to disappear, I believe.
Gosh.
Right. And they also said recently that the memory, prophecy, and fantasy books are running really low on stock. So, and there's no plans to do any sort of reprints in the future for now. So I think they still have some volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3. Of course, there's 3 volumes. So if you don't have those and you're really interested in knowing more stuff about the early works of Clive Barker and the Dog Company and Doug Bradley and all those people, these books are priceless
Yes.
in terms of showing you what Clive was doing from when he was a young boy all the way into high school and then college.
Yeah, they're very, very dense and full of so much insight and information.
Yeah, and it's 3 volumes, and they don't even make it up to the Books of Blood yet.
Yeah, they're just barely on the cusp of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Last week we interviewed the cast and crew from Dark Ditties, including Simon Bamford, Stuart Conran, Gary Smart, and
Stan Rawlings.
Stan Rawlings. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. But anyway, now they've been nominated for some awards at the Unrestricted View Film Festival.
Oh, that's awesome.
Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Sound Design, Best Actor, and Best Feature. So I'm guessing that's for Volume 2, right? That's got to be for Mrs. Wiltshire.
Yes, Mrs. Wiltshire. Yeah, that was really good episode. Like we talked about it, like you said last week, and I was moved to tears by that episode. It's a beautiful story. It's very scary as well. It's a horror story as well. So I'm not going to spoil it, but you guys got to go check it out. Dark Duties Presents Volume episodes 1 and 2 are on Amazon Prime Video, and they're totally worth the money. So go there and get those because you'll definitely be entertained.
Yeah, and then there was some more information for Mark Russell's hybrid exhibition in the UK, and I think Marcus, you had been working on this story, right?
Yeah. I did the blog post for that, and that opened yesterday, and that was opened by Simon Bamford, and and the exhibition was curated by Russell, and all the pieces are from his collection. And I as a collector of Clive's art, I've been in contact with Russell for a couple of years, and I've bought probably nearly a dozen drawings and stuff from him over the years. And so just being able to see his collection, he'll send me stuff and say, "What do you think of these?" And just over the years, I have just seen so much of his collection that it just boggles my mind of how much stuff he owns. And so I'm very, very, very jealous of those across the pond who get to see this exhibition and get to see all the paintings and everything in person, because it looks really great.
Yeah, it does. We saw a few photos, I think, from one of the people that commented on our post. He put some photos up there last night, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it looks really cool. I wish I could.
This is Clive Barker's second solo show in the United Kingdom, apparently. So if you're in the UK and you've never seen, this is your chance, because the paintings are really striking when you see them in person. Sometimes they're big canvases. Other times they're small black and white sketches. But sometimes you look at them on your computer and it's not the same as being right in front of one of those. It's a completely different experience. You get to see all the paint that's smudged in there. You get to see all the brush strokes and all that. It's a completely different experience. You really should go and check out Hybrid. Going on the Anvil Gallery in Derby, in England. So it's going on until November 7th. So you still have lots of time to go see it.
I think the first time I saw one of his original paintings was, I think, was it 2012 when I was over at, or 11, when I was waiting in the waiting room in Clive's studio house. Mark was going to show me around, but he was busy, and he did a comics run to go get a bunch of comic books, for the office and for Clive and stuff. And
sure.
So I was waiting in the waiting room, and I saw behind me Princess Breath, and it's like, oh, that's an original. So I have to touch this.
You're the people that museum guards hate.
Yeah.
So did you go over there and poked it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, seeing a Clive Barker original painting in person it's breathtaking. I mean, those canvases. If he does a triptych, you're looking at those canvases are like, 4 foot by 5 foot. So, I mean, some of them are 15 plus feet long. Like seeing
the beautiful moment.
Yes. Seeing that in person is just like. And I remember I was talking to Ben, and Ben goes, "Oh, Clive said this painting took forever. It took him like 2 weeks or something like that." And I was like, "What?" Like. Just thinking like, oh, in 2 weeks he created this huge, beautiful masterpiece. But Clive Barker canvases have a topography to them. They really do. And there's so many layers of paint and so much stuff that you can't see like you said, Jose, on your computer screen, like just seeing it in person is really jaw dropping.
Sure,
So
yeah.
definitely check out that exhibition.
And next up is the Midian configuration. I think is it Derek Neal's configuration boxes?
I think so. So this is coming out from Configuration Boxes and Little Spark Films, and Configuration Boxes, of course, is run by Derek Neal. He's a very talented guy who is also represented in conventions with, along with Pyramid Gallery. And so I think that they created a new box design called the Midian configuration. So, and Little Spark Films apparently is doing a kind of a trailer, kind of a short film thing about the box. So they've announced it. And I actually helped them out with some graphic stuff that they needed. And so thanks for letting me help you guys and come up with something fun. And it says here, the Midian configuration by Configuration Boxes, commercial drops 10/26. So that should be out as we are recording this. And it's interesting because there's a picture and a teaser of a cloaked figure holding a box, and it says Janie Slash and Satan in a Little Spark film. So I'm looking forward to see that. What's going to come out of this?
That guy from Corpse Paint show that had on the stilts.
Oh yeah, Jay.
That Satan costume.
Yeah, Jay Gavitt. It could be. I don't know. So I guess we'll find out when we see the commercial that Joe Manco wrote and directed. And they're still working also on The Torture with Paul T. Taylor. So there's no real news about that so far, but we'll definitely get back to that when there's news.
Yeah. And this next one I just posted because I thought it was funny. The AMC did the Hellraiser Marathon Fear Fest yesterday, October 26th. As we're recording this, and if you look at the order of the movies that they put in here, it's crazy. The very first one at 9 a.m. they did Hellraiser Revelations, and
oh god,
if I'm
hell of a start.
Imagine you're like, oh, I've heard a lot about these Hellraiser movies. Maybe I'll give them a shot, and you see that, you're done.
Well, maybe,
that's it. Okay,
yeah,
these movies are terrible. I'm not watching these.
Well,
right.
At least it's only uphill from there, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And then Bloodline, then Inferno. So that's like it goes like 9, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1.
And then 1, 3.
3. Yeah.
What happened to 2?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's crazy.
Well, that's crazy.
Yeah. Somebody at AMC. Got hit on the head or something when they put this together.
Yeah. I understand why they put Revelations at 9 a.m, just because probably nobody's going to watch that. Really?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the time slot, I guess you'd think like the most popular time people would be settling in on a Friday night to watch a horror movie would be 8:30. So so putting the first one then, I guess it's just like you said, who's gonna no one really wants to sit down and watch a movie at 9 a.m, a Hellraiser movie. So.
Yeah,
I don't.
And they put the first one and the third one at kind of a prime time slot. It's 8:30 and 10:30. So okay, I understand that, but it's still weird, like you said, bringing up and not even have the number 2 in there. Maybe someone forgot to put that in there. I don't know. I didn't see the actual lineup, but hey, kudos on AMC though for doing the Fear Fest Hellraiser Marathon. I mean, that's something that sorely needed sometimes to have these movies show up on TV. Even though nowadays you can just go on whatever streaming service you want and just play Hellraiser at any time.
Yeah.
What one Halloween related thing that I'm really hoping for that kind of ties into what we talked about in the beginning is I know that Clive did a couple mazes for Universal's Halloween Horror Nights years ago. And I never got to see him. And so what I think would be really cool is if they did a Hellraiser Halloween Horror Nights maze.
Oh man!
Oh wow!
We kind of, it seems like we're kind of having like a mini Hellraiser rejuvenation here, and so I think that would be really cool to help bring the property back further.
I agree completely. I remember he did a couple of things for Universal, didn't he? One of them was like Freaks with a Z.
Yeah. So that was all for Halloween Horror Nights. It's just where they have these little haunted house mazes that sometimes they have celebrities or artists, musicians, whatever, come up with their own. Like Rob Zombie has had a maze, Alice Cooper has had a maze.
Yeah.
And I believe Clive Barker had I believe he had 3 of them over the years.
Right.
I think the last one was in, don't quote me, but it's like 2000, 2002, something like that. Years before I ever started going. But I mean, this year they're doing Poltergeist. So I mean, last year they did The Shining. So why hopefully maybe one day that they'll be able to do Hellraiser. I think that'd be really cool.
That sounds like an amazing idea. I hope someone out there that works for this is listening to that, because that's a great idea, especially now that Hellraiser is on the 30th anniversary. And, 31st, really. But that would be an amazing idea. Also, I don't know if I haven't been keeping up, but have you guys heard anything about Miss Kitty's Halloween Ball, if Clive's going to attend this year?
No, Miss Kitty's, I attended that. I attended that 3 times because for the longest time that was the only way to see Clive. After the coma and everything else, and his health declining, he didn't. The only public appearances it seemed like he did was for the Miss Kitties, and he did 20. What was 2018? So I believe he did 2016 is the last time I saw him there, and then 2017. They would always announce it last minute. And so I had asked if Clive was going to attend, and they never got back to me. And then they announced that it was going to be Elvira. And
that's cool too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I checked this year though to see if there was even a Miss Kitty's Ball. I checked like 2 weeks ago, and like I said, they don't really announce it till last minute. So they might have had one. They might have one tonight. But as far as I saw, there were no more Miss Kitty Balls. So I honestly don't know.
Was that organized by the Boulay brothers?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, I guess Cassandra Peterson's also a good guest. You can't go wrong with Elvira.
Yeah.
Right. So what else is new in terms of news here?
Well, that was the last one. But I did want to make an announcement, since obviously this is episode 199, so that means episode 200 is next.
Yes.
So it's fast approaching. We'd love to add your voice to the episode. So go over to clivebarkercast.com and you click the little send voicemail tab on the right to send us a message, and you can talk to us about your favorite Clive Barker thing, your favorite thing from us, a Clive Barker painting, or just be nice and send us a congratulations. If you want to get your voice in there, please send it before Halloween. That's about the time that it will air, that it'll go live. So we're hoping we've got a couple already, and we're hoping to get some more. We want to get as many of our listeners' voices on here as we can. You can even criticize us if you want to.
Yeah. Why does it always sound like Ryan is so close to the microphone and Joe is so far away, or something like that?
Yeah.
Or the other way around.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right.
And so on the site, we do have Tuesday Tunes, which was done by Rob, and he brought Sweetest Maleficia by Cradle of Filth. So from their 8th studio album, Godspeed on the Devil's Thunder. Are you familiar? I guess you two are probably more into Cradle of Filth than I am.
Nah, I'm not really.
Yeah, okay. In all honesty, it's not my kind of music. The only reason why I'm aware of who Cradle of Filth is because they did an album that was inspired by Nightbreed, and I knew that Doug Bradley had done voice work for it.
He did. I remember that.
And so
back in the 90s.
Yeah, and so kind of like hearing like, oh, this band is doing like an homage album to Nightbreed. I have to check it out. And it's not my taste, but.
Yeah, and I'd heard about them because of that, and because there was one song where they did they had King Diamond as a guest vocalist, and so I have that, but yeah, they're sort of in the periphery for me too. I'm not like a fan or anything.
Right. So Swedish Maleficia does have Doug Bradley. He kind of contributed to this song. There's a connection, I guess you could call it a connection between this song and the Hellbound Heart, in the sense that Gilles de Rais is the guy that's mentioned in the Hellbound Heart, and this song is about the French serial killer Gilles de Rais, who fought for the French army under Joan of Arc during the 100 Years' War. And so apparently Doug Bradley really taps into the insanity of de Rais' personality, and he features in the opening monologue of this track. So that's pretty cool, Rob. Good pick.
Yeah.
Good pick. Yeah.
Oh, one other news thing on the topic of Doug Bradley.
Yeah.
Amazon's Lore is now streaming. So if anyone wants to see Doug Bradley in that show, I believe it's episode 1. I haven't seen it yet, but it is streaming now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Burke and Hare.
I think we talked about it as an upcoming thing, but it's available now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess it's time to renew my Prime subscription. I think I'm going to do that today, because I had canceled it for a while, but now that things are getting better, I think I'm going to bring that back so I can.
And with Dark Ditties, you can watch those for free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're paying for the Prime, but yeah. So you get to stream a whole bunch of stuff, and I do have a Fire Stick, and that really, really helps. So we did that, like you said, the Dark Ditties interview episode. So go check that out. That was episode 198. Yeah. Very, very good insight there. I guess we have the Simon Bamford fans page webmaster Lori Bichet. She's been posting a lot about this interview. She listened to the whole thing, so thanks for the feedback, Lori.
Yeah. It's been neat seeing all of her reactions and stuff.
Yeah.
And Tuesday Tunes, I did one of these actually. It's been a while since I did one, but I actually, in my news feed, in my news emails, there was Soulfly, Max Cavalera's band. Has a song that's all about Cenobites and Hellraiser, and it's called Dead Behind the Eyes. So we have a YouTube link to that song in the show notes if you want to check it out.
Cool. I got into Sepultura by the time of Chaos AD, and then that's how I got to know.
I love Chaos AD.
It's a good album. It's a good album. When I was getting into metal at the time, maybe 1992 or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so this is an album track, like you said, that deals with Cenobites, right? Yeah.
It was pretty good. I listened to it a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
But it's on there. It's on Soulfly's new album.
The song is called "Dead Behind the Eyes,"
and it's called Ritual.
Ritual. There you go.
There's one more thing. You guys jogged my memory that I want to mention. Speaking of Doug Bradley and Cradle of Filth, and Ryan, I saw that your article has a thing to Metal Hammer. I believe it's Metal Hammer that just released an issue this month that was done by Rob Zombie, where he has horror icons and musicians interview each other. And so Danny Filth from Cradle of Filth interviews Doug Bradley and vice versa. And I guess
cool.
So there's also that I believe is out now in stores to check out and read.
So which magazine is that again?
I believe it's Metal Hammer.
Okay.
I'm trying to find it right now.
Cool.
Yeah, I believe it's Metal Hammer.
Oh yeah. Send us a link and we'll have that on the show notes too.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then just one other thing on Facebook, I had asked listeners what other podcasts they listen to, just to kind of get a sense of. There was a pretty varied response from people about what podcasts they listen to. Most of them I hadn't ever heard of. Do you guys listen to other podcasts?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you subscribe, or are you just like, oh, this looks interesting, and listen to one?
I subscribe.
I subscribe to a few on the iTunes, and then I place them on either place them on my iPod. I still have an iPod Nano 5th generation, tiny little thing. Yeah. I think that was one of the best iPod models that they came up with because it had FM radio, it had a little camera, and it was a Nano, but it had a camera, it had FM radio, which was something they usually didn't get on an iPod.
Yeah.
And it's just the right size. Then they made the Nano like super small with a touch screen where it seems like, your finger is almost as big as half of the screen.
And
it's
only
like
fit 4 icons on the screen at one time.
Yeah, so I was like, I don't know, but I did get that one, so I just subscribed to that. And but most times nowadays, I just listen to it on my computer, or I Bluetooth it from my phone to my headphones, and just listen to it like that when I'm doing chores around the house or something, or driving. But I guess some of the podcasts I listen to is I listen to Cinema Bluster. I listen to the WTF podcast with Mark Maron.
Yeah, so do I.
He does great interviews, and I do recommend a couple of episodes. I recommend the one with the guy who does the voice for Ren and Stimpy, that Billy West, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
And the Martin Landau interview. Those are really good interviews. And then I listened to You Must Remember This, which is a podcast about Hollywood's early age of the studio system and all that. So I listened to that one. Those are some of the ones that I listen to. Yeah. What about you, Marcus?
Definitely WTF with Mark Maron. Mark Maron is my favorite comedian, and so that's probably the podcast I listen to most. Obviously, you guys as well. You guys were what got me into podcasting.
Oh, thanks.
Seriously, it was like 2012, and finding out. I had no idea what podcasts are. I'm always behind when it comes to technology and stuff like that. But yeah, finding out that there was this Clive Barker podcast, I had to listen to it, and so you guys were what got me into it. And but yeah, definitely Mark Maron. I listened to Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh yeah. And
those are probably those are like my trinity of podcasts. I listen to a couple of philosophy stuff and things like that, and like an H.P. Lovecraft literary podcast. Postmortem with Mick Garris is a wonderful podcast as well.
Yeah.
And Lore. I've been starting to listen to Lore ever since the Doug Bradley news and stuff. And
have you listened to the podcast and watched the show?
Yeah. I saw the first season first before I even listened to the podcast, and I really enjoyed the format because the first season, at least, I don't think the second season does this, but the first season, they actually have the guy who makes the podcast doing the voice for the show and giving all the historical insights, and so you're kind of watching like a reenactment while also being told all of the quote unquote facts of the lore. And so the show is kind of like watching a dramatization of the podcast. But the podcast is really good. It has really beautiful music, and it's kind of just like sitting around a campfire and listening to campfire tales, like when you were a kid. That's what it's kind of like. So I highly recommend that too.
What about you, Ryan? I know you listen to the Muppet Cast.
No.
Oh, really?
No, the Muppet Cast went out of business in like 2010.
Oh, wow. Okay.
No, but yeah,
I guess I'm running late on that one.
That's kind of what I do is I pick stuff that I like and try to find a podcast about it. And that's kind of how this thing got started. It's like, okay, so I got Godzilla down. I've got, Sega down. I've got, and then Dungeons and Dragons and so
Retro.
So I was like,
Retro
okay,
Hour.
Yeah. And now and Guar and Ernest and so I'm like, where's the Clive Barker podcast?
Is there an Ernest podcast?
Yeah, it's called Ernest Goes to Podcast.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? There is a podcast about the Ernest films.
Yeah,
you're telling me that?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh wow.
They don't
I need to look into that.
Yeah, but it's pretty
That's cool though.
But yeah, so I was like, well, where's the Clive Barker podcast? And there wasn't one. So I said, okay, that's it. We're gonna make the Clive Barker podcast because we're gonna be the only one, and so that's why we have that name. Which I regret sometimes because people think that it's gonna be Clive Barker talking and it's not.
Yeah. And of course the Hellraiser podcast. Holy crap! How did I not bring up the Hellraiser podcast?
Yes.
That that was one of the podcasts that I listened to before we had our podcast. So
Yeah.
in that sense, that was the podcast to listen to if you were a Hellraiser fan or a Clive Barker fan. So
And while
that was cool.
While I was planning, I spent about 6 months planning before we ever went live. And while I was planning, they did their first episode. I'm like, oh, no, there is a Clive Barker, but it's not exactly,
Right.
But
So it's a Hellraiser podcast.
Yeah. They're not exactly, it's not like it's competition.
Yeah. So what podcast do you listen to? So show us some more comments, post it on our Facebook page or tweet at us at BarkerCast. And it was great having you here with us today, Marcus, and you're going to be joining us for episode 200 as well.
Yes. And yeah, thank you so much again for having me. This is always so much fun and such a pleasure, really.
Yeah. So, and this podcast, having no beginning, will have no end.
You can find the show notes for this episode and join the discussion over at www.clivebarkercast.com, where we have news, features, reviews, and links to all the ways you can connect with us. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts and every other place you can find podcasts. Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial, podcast, and news blog that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans.
Thanks for listening.